All right, welcome back. We are going to be looking at several stories. One, it's been reported that Trump's UN return had been planned to be a difficult one. There are rumors, not rumors, but reports that there were UN staffers who planned to sabotage his teleprompter, the Escalator, the audio in the press booth, so that his speeches or his speech would not be heard properly. So we have all of this on this belt of the channel, and then we will also be looking at Jimmy Kimmel's failed return. Jimmy Kimmel was canceled by the network, but we have all of these talking heads all over mainstream media accusing Donald Trump of canceling Jimmy Kimmel. We're going to take a quick look at that over this stream. Now, let's jump in to hear out what Caroline Leavitt has to say about the sabotage at the UN. And note that the United States of America is plays host to the UN. They provided the property, the plot of land that the UN is built on. And the United States is possibly, and I think it is, the largest contributor to the UN financially and resource-wise. And so to have the President of the United States treated this way, it is actually despicable. So let us listen to Carolyn, and then we'll give our reaction to this.
Caroline, it does appear to be sabotage with the escalator and the teleprompter. What is the White House going to do about that?
Well, Jesse, that's definitely what it appears to be to me, and that's why I put out a statement earlier. There was some concerning reporting over the weekend from the London Times, as you pointed out, that UN globalist staffers were basically plotting to set up the President of the United States. And first it was the escalator, then it was the teleprompter, and then Katie Pavlich from Town Hall, who we offered a seat in the press pool to cover the President's historic speech today, noticed that the audio inside of the room was much lower and different for the President of the United States than the previous speaker. So when you put all of this together, it doesn't look like a coincidence to me. And I know that we have people, including the United States Secret Service, who are looking into this to try to get to the bottom of it. And if we find that these were UN staffers who were purposefully trying to trip up, literally trip up, the President and the First Lady of the United States, well, there better be accountability for those people. And I will personally see to it, Jesse.
Good.
So there are reports, and I have a video here of someone who did some digging and found out that, well, he gives some receipts. So let's listen to him. He's I don't know his name, so I'm going to apologize in advance for using his content without giving his name. But he has quite some information to give, because Carolyn already said that over the weekend, there were reports that this was going to happen. They were going to try to embarrass the President of the United States because his name is Trump. And you know what? Because his name is Trump, it seems like to everyone who hates him, it's okay that this happened to him. And, you know, when you begin to have conversations with people and they can't separate their hatred, of course, their engineered hatred for Trump, from their from common sense, because if this is how they treat your president, how do you think the citizens of the country will be treated when you go to those countries? So let's listen to this report.
Escalator gate at the UN today. Trump arrived today at the UN conference, and as he was approaching the escalator,
he gets
working on with Melania, and it works for about a second or so, and then it stops.
And this is intentional.
Trump, as you can see, is a little bit like, wait a second.
Look, this is intentional. All right. When I heard this speech yesterday, and President Trump said it stopped halfway, that sounded like, you know, it worked for a while and then stopped halfway. But this here, as soon as he gets on and it stops, and the escalator beside them is still running, that is suspicious. to me, it's suspicious. Let me know in the chat what you think. Because for me, if it had run for a while and didn't stop, then I would say that was a malfunction. But let's keep going.
What happened here? And I will say, I'm surprised Secret Service didn't cover him. I know that sounds dramatic, but that can't be happening. On Sunday, the Times reported to mark Trump's arrival, UN staff members have joked that they may turn off the escalators and elevators and simply tell him they ran out of money, so he has to walk up the stairs.
Okay, so this is reported, all right? The London Times reported this. They announced what they were going to do to the President of the United States. If the politics of the United States wasn't so divided, okay, everyone in the United States should be outraged at how President Trump has been, was treated at the UN. We heard Caroline Levitt equally say, one, his teleprompter was sabotaged as well. It was meant to be working. It was sabotaged. And then the audio in the press booth was also turned down. It was lower for President Trump than it was for the previous speaker. Listen, the United States provides massive resources to the UN. I don't think the United States should stand for this kind of treatment. I don't think so. I think the UN should be kicked out of the United States. That's my thought. It is a very extreme, controversial thought. But when you're given free land, okay, in New York, of all places, to build your headquarters, and you receive massive amounts of money from the United States, you should hire people who don't behave this way. That is my opinion.
Caroline Levitt is calling into an investigation immediately into these UN staff members. The UN is officially saying that the president's party who ran ahead of him inadvertently triggered the stop mechanism on the escalator.
What? Excuse me? Is that how escalators work? Is that how escalators work? If someone out there knows anything about how escalators work, please. Okay, hold on. I am going to do a search on where's my AI. All right. I am going to ask ChatGPT. Okay, I'm going to do a fresh chat. All right. Because sometimes when these things happen and people start giving funny stories, I like to, fact check them. Okay, so do escalators have an automatic stop? Okay. Stop mechanism when someone runs up ahead of others who are on the escalator. I'm just going to ask because I don't think the UN escalators are new escalators, okay? Because the building is quite old. All right. So I'm going to read what this report. So the now where is this? I'm going to skip back. Okay, Farnoosh Amiri, okay, says a UN official said the UN understands that someone from the president's party who ran ahead of him inadvertently triggered the stop mechanism on the escalator. Now, someone, okay, is either the Secret Service or someone from the press pool. Caroline Levitt, okay, speaking hours after this incident, says that the Secret Service is investigating. Clearly, it wasn't triggered by someone in President Trump's party. So now they're trying to pass the buck to say it's someone from the president's party triggered the stop mechanism. What stop mechanism? Because the only stop mechanism that escalators have, according to ChatGPT is there's an emergency stop button at the top of the escalator. Usually, in most escalators, there's an emergency stop button. So did someone from the president's party run up the stairs and smash the stop button to embarrass the president? And then Caroline Levitt goes on air on Fox News to say this was sabotage. And it's coming from the UN. And the Secret Service is investigating when they should know, according to Farnoosh and her source at the UN, that someone triggered the stop mechanism. The official speaking on condition of anonymity. Of course. So someone is lying, and if you drill down deeper, they know what happened. So the someone must be party to this plot to embarrass President Trump. Let me know in the chat what you think of this story, because as far as I am concerned, the UN should stop receiving donations or support from the United States, just like NATO should stop receiving funding from the United States. Because yesterday, during President Trump's speech, he announced that he found out that the NATO countries in Europe were still funding Russia by buying Russian oil. So how does this work? You stand in front of the mic, in front of the whole world, and say that Russia is bad, Russia is horrible, but you still send them money to continue invading Ukraine so that you guys can have a narrative that Putin is evil and the United States should bomb Russia. This smells, okay? It smells to the high heavens as far as I'm concerned. So let me know in the comment section what you think. As far as I'm concerned, well, of course, we also saw the sabotage of the teleprompter. His teleprompter was sabotaged as well, and he had to riff for a few minutes before they turned it on. Oh, oops! Look, since last week, or since the week before that, when Charlie was shot, it's almost like we're all very sensitive to these things now. We pick these things up as soon as they happen. We don't believe the lies anymore. And just like this guy reports, okay, I haven't finished his video. I'm going to play his video through. He's reporting that they openly bragged about it to the London Times. Let's keep going.
As I said earlier, this is definitely a safety issue. A stationary object, if there was another attempt on Donald Trump's life, would be something that would be ideal for somebody. And this is on the same day that somebody that tried to take Donald Trump's life was found guilty. So I know some people may roll their eyes, but this is something that can't be happening.
I agree. If you have something like this happening, and it was a conspiracy, I've spoken before about this principle of the broken windows policy, where you have people who commit a crime or do something, and because there's no repercussion, everyone else says, okay, it's okay to do this as well, right? If someone breaks a window on a street and there's no consequences, he decides, okay, well, it looks like it's okay to keep breaking windows on this street. And so the next day he comes back and keeps breaking everyone else's windows because there's no consequences. And that's what we're seeing here. Look, guys, I am going to take the unpopular position that the UN should be defunded by the US and given a quit notice. Okay, they should be given a quit notice. Where there are reports of the UN taking the funding that they're given to support woke projects all over the world. They fund UNRWA, okay, which routinely is funding terrorist groups in the Middle East, funding schools where the kids there are taught how to hate Jews. And the question is, why are you guys doing this? And of course, there are excuses about why they're doing it and so on. So, that's my opinion. So we'll go through this video, wrap it up, and then we'll move on.
September 23rd, and it is time to unpack with Jack Mack, America's most trusted nightly news show, according to people that were not very good at Model UN. And on top of the escalator breaking, Donald Trump's teleprompter did not work. Here's what he had to say about that. Trump continued on saying climate change, it's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world. Then he decided to continue to dig in on his most hated object in America, which are windmills.
And we have reports from global news outlets saying that they frame Donald Trump as being a climate denier. That's what the headlines are saying, that Donald Trump denies climate change. And you know what? I do too. I've lived on the earth long enough to have heard of global warming. Okay, the ozone layer is depleting, that your fridge is responsible for depleting the ozone layer. Okay, I remember that was in the early 80s. And then in the late 90s, it turned to, in the early 1900s, it was that the world was going to be an Arctic frozen wasteland. When that didn't happen, then it turned out to be, okay, the world is warming, and by the year 2000, the entire planet is going to be covered, flooded with water, because the Arctic snow caps are melting. Okay. And then when that didn't happen, they said, well, let's just call it climate change. It's all a scam. I'm sorry. I don't believe it. I believed it when I was a kid. I looked with grave suspicion at my fridge, and today I honestly do not believe it. Well, let's move on to the next story. Jimmy Kimmel returned, and I'm going to do a reaction to two videos. I'm going to do a reaction to Nerdrotic. Okay, he did a live stream and talked about the return of Jimmy Kimmel. I'm just going to react to it, and then please leave a comment in the chat. This is going to be a short stream. We're going to be done in a bit, and then I'll come back in a few hours in the afternoon to do the afternoon belt, to do more stories that have developed over the last 48 hours. So we're going to listen to this, and then we'll do a reaction to both halves of it. We're going to do a reaction to MSNBC and their take on the Jimmy Kimmel return. And have you noticed that no one is taking back their accusation that the Trump administration canceled Jimmy Kimmel? Do you notice that if the Trump administration was responsible for canceling them, how come he's back on the air?
He's having Gavin Newsom on the show.
When?
Tonight.
I hope he gets his out.
Gavin Newsom.
Oh, Gavin Newsom. I thought it was Gavin McGinnis.
That was a fucking weird thing to say. Second there.
All right, please forgive my friends on Nerdrotic. Okay, so go on to Nerdrotic, okay, and subscribe. He's one of the creators that I follow. He's great with movie reviews and so on, but he also follows entertainment, and Jimmy Kimmel is an entertainer. So let's hear what they say about this entire thing.
Is something you want to tell us? He's evil, but man, that guy's good looking.
At this point, you can make a compilation, Gary. Like a big one.
He's got a beautiful. What is wrong with that? I hope he gets his out. I don't get what is wrong with that?
That means you're gay.
Jimmy Kimmel returns tonight.
Shocking news.
Shocking, yeah. I don't know what the shocking news is. Is the shocking news that he's back this soon, or is the shocking news that more people, lefties, weirdos, freaks, whatever you want to call them, were more upset at the fact that a man was off the air for a week than a man who was shot and murdered, assassinated, and will never be able to speak again. And if you weren't fucking deflated from the response to Charlie Kirk, then this was certainly a we are not this, huge. We are not the same moment.
Yeah, we're definitely not the same. Okay. When people don't have the right gauge to gauge tragedy, to them, their favorite lefties show being cancelled outweighs a man getting brutally murdered in front of his wife, kids, and thousands of young people.
We're not the same, and we're still seeing a lot of it, and a lot of people are just you don't have to like Charlie Kirk or what he said, but so much of what he said is being attributed to him is just flat out not true. And you see a lot of that. Ryan was talking about it last night. A lot of that ignorance on the very normie Facebook. I don't think anybody thought he was going to be gone long. Coming back this quick, maybe. But it also proves it wasn't the administration or the state that which I would have a problem with. If they specifically said fire this guy for this, I would have a problem with that. But that's not what happened here. It was Disney made the decision. Disney made the decision. And if people need clarification on, because they were what you were getting at is they were trying to compare this as cancel culture.
This was comparatively
the Kirk moment. Here are the facts. Yeah, because they're saying we are Jimmy Kimmel. Here are the facts. Jimmy Kimmel returns tonight after being briefly suspended by the company he works for his speech. Charlie Kirk is still dead.
Yeah,
after being assassinated for his speech. So there's your point of clarification. I think it's hilarious that he's back. I think it's hilarious. So many people said they cared about Jimmy Kimmel when he was averaging 129,000 in the key demographic every night. Right? It's meeting a bunch of he was getting.
Can you, I don't know if you guys know more or less about this, but what I heard...
Now, Jimmy Kimmel's show has been dead for a while, and I think ABC just used this as an excuse, but his contract is meant to run till sometime next year, so...
They had negotiations, and they realized that all they would be doing is paying a different host to take the slot when they're already having to pay him.
Yeah,
like they would have to pay him and then pay somebody else.
Yep.
So they're just going to run out the contract, and he's still going to be going. That's what I heard.
Which was probably going to happen anyway. Like he already, Jimmy had already said he's thinking about retiring next year.
Good.
And late night's a dead format anyway. But they're seeing this.
They killed it in all fairness.
We're now back up to 9 people who bitch about Trump on a nightly basis instead of 8. So that was a great tragedy. It's a great tragedy. He'll probably get really good ratings. If people say this was kind of a gay op to get good ratings, probably worked. But I think the most disturbing thing was
okay. So what were the ratings for last night's show? Let's see. ChatGPT. Do we have ratings for last night's show? Do we have the ratings for last night's Jimmy Kimmel show? Let's see. Let's see if we have something out. Couldn't find a reliable source. Jeez. That sucks. Okay. Okay, we'll head on over to Mika and
was Hollywood being far more upset about this. But the thing was, what makes it even worse is it's disingenuous because Hollywood was very uniquely aware of the optics of what was going on with Charlie Kirk, and they needed something to change the narrative, and they
needed to return back to victimhood.
Yeah,
they needed to return back to being the victim because with the Charlie Kirk thing, people were just not having it. Just like fuck off, you fucking freaks. They're being exposed for who they are, literally dancing on a man's grave, saying the most disgusting things. People showing you who they truly were. And then because of that, so much clapback. They're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, so please, in the live chat, because I'm really curious, do you have people in your space or in your feed who celebrated Charlie's murder? Because I keep I keep a tight ship, okay, with people that I relate with. So I had most everyone in my feed, like my friend groups and everything, mourned Charlie's death. I had only one person who said, I didn't exactly agree with everything he said, but to kill him for his speech, you know. So I didn't have anyone dancing and celebrating. So if you had any in your feed, just say, yeah, I did. Because it's going to be really painful to figure out that I know people who actually feel this way.
We need to become the victim, because if we become the victim, then we can start spurging back out again. And you're all wrong, and you're into cancel culture. Forget that your guy was murdered, but forget that. You're into cancel culture. This is an attack on democracy, as they love to say. This is an attack on the First Amendment. This is an attack on free speech. No, you made a big hue and cry about somebody being taken off the air for lying, for lying at a moment where they were crying about lowering the temperature.
Yeah,
and taken off the air for a week, which
isn't it interesting that the same people who say take down the temperature are the ones who are raising the temperature.
Again, suspended for a week, fair. They suspend him for a week and he comes back for nobody to watch, nobody to care. He'll continue his act. He'll probably double or triple down. Now, I think Sinclair, one of the broadcasters, is going to not air it. I don't know if Nexstar, I don't know.
Yeah, both of them didn't.
Me if I'm wrong, Chad. I don't know if we've heard from Nexstar, but it will not air on every channel tonight. Sinclair Media said no.
This is the biggest cell phone in the history of fucking mankind.
Yeah.
We're going to watch Jimmy Kimmel tonight. And they're sat there like, fucking hell, this is
oh,
this is really fucking bad. Can we turn it off yet? Has he got our rating? Can we turn this fucking thing off yet? Nexstar is out. Nexstar chat saying Nexstar said no.
Oh, okay.
All right. So that's I don't want to play the entire thing. Head on over to Nedrotic, okay? Search for Nedrotic Live, okay? And subscribe. Great content when it comes to movie reviews. I prefer watching his reviews than actually going out to watch the movies, okay? So this is my go-to. So I'm introducing you to the creators that I watch inadvertently. So let's listen to what Mika and Joe have to say about this situation, okay? Because the mainstream media were quick to jump on the Trump is canceling, people who don't agree with him. And let's hear what they have to say. And I'm curious because the title of this video says big government versus the people. And big government is something that the left supports. The left supports big government. I don't know why they're using this and attributing it to the Trump, administration. But conservatives are for smaller government. Smaller government is what we believe.
Jimmy Kimmel Live returned to the late night lineup last night, nearly 1 week after ABC pulled the show off the air amid controversy over Kimmel's comments about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. In an emotional opening monologue, Kimmel addressed the remarks that led to his suspension while fiercely defending free speech.
The free speech was not at stake here. You did something that the network didn't like because their partners said, we don't like this, we're going to pull him off the air, and ABC was forced to kick him off the air or suspend him. They suspended him, all right? They didn't cancel his show like they did for Roseanne. They took him off the air temporarily, all right? And then someone drives by and shoots at their station and says, if you don't put him back on the air, I'm going to kill somebody in your organization. And then they caved. That's what happened. Yes, Jimmy Kimmel was suspended, not totally canceled. Roseanne, on the other hand, was canceled. And guess who was the first person to celebrate after Roseanne was canceled? Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel.
Criticizing the Trump administration over what he called anti-American attacks on the First Amendment and thanking those who supported him.
Maybe most of all, I want to thank the people who don't support my show and what I believe, but support my right to share those beliefs anyway.
Conservatives don't like your content, but we support your right to say what you think, right? That's what we do. The people who like to cancel people are on your side. So saying that and having everybody scream and applaud is not. I mean, it's a lie. It's weak. So
I never would have imagined. Like Ben Shapiro, Clay Travis, Candace Owens, Mitch McConnell, Rand Paul, even my old pal Ted Cruz, who, believe it or not, said something very beautiful on my behalf.
I hate what Jimmy Kimmel said. I am thrilled that he was fired.
Now, you see how they take these things out of context. What did Jimmy Kimmel say? And Jimmy Kimmel hasn't apologized yet for accusing, for saying that the shooter was MAGA. He hasn't apologized yet. And he's playing back Ted Cruz's, statement about that statement he made that the shooter was from the MAGA gang and that we are responsible for Charlie Kirk's death. That's essentially what he said.
Oh, wait, no, not that. The other part.
But let me tell you, if the government gets in the business of saying, we don't like what you, the media, have said, we're going to ban you from the airwaves if you don't say what we like, that will end up bad for conservatives.
I don't think I've ever said this before, but Ted Cruz is right. He's absolutely right.
Yeah, but that was happening for 4 years under Joe Biden. Facebook owned up to the fact that the White House was pressuring them to deplatform conservatives. X had FBI and CIA agents tracking what conservatives were saying for 4 years. So yeah, it already happened. So when Jimmy Kimmel makes a joke about this thing that Ted Cruz said, the problem with what I have with what Ted Cruz said is that Ted Cruz is speaking as if it didn't happen already. It already did for 4 years under Joe Biden.
That's all of us, including him. I mean, think about it. If Ted Cruz can't speak freely, then he can't cast spells on the Smurfs. Even though I don't agree with many of those people on most subjects, some of the things they say even make me want to throw up. It takes courage for them to speak out against this administration, and they did, and they deserve credit for it. And thanks. For telling their followers that our government cannot be allowed to control what we do and do not say on television.
Now, here is Jimmy Kimmel insinuating that the Trump administration had a hand in his cancellation, in his suspension, not even cancellation, his suspension. And it's this subliminal messaging that we see that is a problem. It's called lying, all right? You're insinuating something with your speech. You know very well that when people hear it, subconsciously, they are being convinced that the government had a hand in his suspension. Now, this is not true. If the government had a hand in his suspension, wouldn't he still be off the air? Would ABC be bringing him back? Would ABC be going against the government? What if Facebook decided that they wouldn't deplatform all of these conservatives that they did during the Biden years? Okay, Congress would have made it very difficult for Facebook to function as a business within the United States. That's the power of big government. All right. So when you hear these things, you need to be able to pick them out and identify what's going on while they're talking.
Now we have to stand up to it. I've been hearing a lot about what I need to say and do tonight. And the truth is, I don't think what I have to say is going to make much of a difference. If you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. I have no illusions about changing anyone's mind. But I do want to make something clear because it's important to me as a human. And that is, you understand that it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man.
Oh, come on.
I don't think there's anything funny about it. I posted a message on Instagram on the day he was killed, sending love to his family and asking for compassion, and I meant it, and I still do. Nor was it my intention to blame any specific group for the actions of what it was obviously a deeply disturbed individual. That was really the opposite of the point I was trying to make, but I understand that to some that felt either ill-timed or unclear, or maybe both. And for those who think I did point a finger. I get why you're upset. If the situation was reversed, there's a good chance I'd have felt the same way. I have many friends and family members on the other side who I love and remain close to, even though we don't agree on politics at all. I don't think the murderer who shot Charlie Kirk represents anyone. This was a sick person who believed violence was a solution, and it isn't.
All right, so where was this emotion, and I'm using the word emotion loosely, when you were giving the monologue you did last week, mocking the MAGA movement for well, I don't identify as MAGA, okay? But I'm a conservative, and all of us all over the world were mourning the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And you picked that moment to begin mocking and finger pointing, saying that even after evidence had been released that this individual who shot him was someone who leaned left, you still got up there and said this was someone from the MAGA gang. All right, so my question, where was the emotion at the time? Where was the contrition the day after when they asked you, okay, were you going to walk back your statement? And the reports that we hear is that he said he wasn't going to walk back his statement. So where was all this emotion? And that's why I like to call these people actors. They are not journalists. Jimmy Kimmel is a comedian, so he's essentially an actor. So he can cry on demand. I'm not convinced that his tears are sincere because his words last week were very clear. Okay, so am I saying, oh, don't forgive him? No. Look, we shouldn't hold a grudge. All right, we shouldn't hold a grudge. We should listen. We should pay attention. We should take note of who these people are, but don't hold a grudge. All right, it's really very simple.
This show is not important. What is important is that we get to live in a country that allows us to have a show like this.
And that's what conservatives want to protect. All right, canceling Roseanne Barr for a private tweet she made, all right, is so different from you standing on your stage, okay, while you're working and saying things that are totally reprehensible, and yet you get to come back and do your show. But you celebrated when Roseanne Barr was canceled. Her show, named after her, okay, a show she created, right? She was fired from her own show for a tweet she made in private that Obama and Michelle didn't like, that Barack Obama and Michelle Obama didn't like. All right. We have the videos where Roseanne said that the Obamas called Bob Iger, and they influenced her firing. Where was the outrage on the left when that happened? No, they celebrated it. Jimmy Kimmel said, oh, it's good. She did it on a private tweet, and she got canceled on a show she was doing on ABC. So the double standards and the hypocrisy are just immense. They are immense. I'm going to play this a little, and then we'll be wrapping this belt up in 3 minutes.
I've had the opportunity to meet and spend time with comedians and talk show hosts from countries like Russia, countries in the Middle East, who told me they would get thrown in prison for making fun of those in power, and worse than being thrown in prison. They know how lucky we are here. Our freedom to speak is what they admire most about this country. And that's something I'm embarrassed to say I took for granted until they pulled my friend Steven off the air and tried to coerce the affiliates who run our show in the cities that you live in to take my show off the air. That's
okay. You see that there? You see that there? Now he is pointing the finger at the Trump administration. Guys, when we sit by and watch these things play out, it's good to be aware of what's going on. Listen very carefully to what they say and what they try to communicate with their words. And the question is, one, he opened up, this is not a question, it's an observation. He opened up by saying this particular clip here. He opened up by saying he's glad that he lives in a country where he's allowed to speak freely and still have a show. He spoke with friends in other countries, and if they made fun of people in power, they'll be pulled off the air. And then he goes ahead he sets that up, and then he goes ahead to begin to say that Colbert was canceled because the Trump administration influenced the cancellation, not because Colbert's show was dead. And then they pulled strings with the affiliates, Nexstar, and I've forgotten the other one. And that it's the administration that influenced those affiliates to take his show off the air. And that's a lie. Because what we do, the report we have from Nexstar is that the show wasn't doing well at all. They couldn't sell ads for the show at all. So all the lies keep coming. MSNBC and mainstream media are doubling down. They are not directly saying that the Trump administration was responsible for the cancellation of Colbert, but in Colbert's own words, he is connecting his suspension to the Trump administration. Let me know what you think in the chat, in the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. If you watch this long, thank you for watching. Consider sending a donation using the super chat, the super thanks down below in the chat area, in the comment section, sorry. And if you want to work closer with us and partner with us, please consider joining the membership. There we have a bunch of perks. Use the link in the description or in the pinned comments so that you can take advantage of more features, like you get to have members only videos. There are a bunch of them in there already. You get to have regular calls with me and live streams like this that are members only, where we look at things that are really great and interesting and entertaining. Thanks for watching so far. I'll be back on a live stream within the next couple of hours. So say between 12 noon my time and 1 p.m. I will I'll do a post, okay, to let you know that I'm going live. So please subscribe to the channel so that you can get notified when I announce when the live stream is going to be, so you can join up. We're going to look at the news going on, some of the developing events, and we might follow up on the UN situation where President Trump's escalator and his teleprompter and the audio in the press booth were sabotaged by staffers in the UN who have a globalist view of the world. And when people say it's okay to embarrass the president of the United States, okay, there's something that is being said, and it needs to be addressed. Thanks for watching so far, and see you in a couple of hours. Bye. God bless you.